everyone, it's Sharon from Sharon at Sea, and today we are here to talk about Alaska. Yes, Alaska, it is an amazing place to visit, and if you are fortunate enough to be able to visit there one day, you are going to want to make sure you do put a lot of time and effort into your planning of that vacation. Whether it's packing or just planning your excursions, there's just so much to kind of take into consideration when you're planning for Alaska. So much more involved than, if you're going on like a Caribbean cruise or something. There's just a lot more things to think about, basically. For one thing, you are definitely not, I would not suggest you try to pack light on this cruise. Alaska is one place that you are going to probably want to pack even a few extra things just to make sure you have them, because like I will go into, the weather can change just dramatically from one day to the next, from one hour to the next, actually. So let's see. So taking all that into consideration, let's see. Some of the things you're going to want to think of is packing. So let's go into kind of packing first and planning ahead for your packing process. Okay, first off, you're going to want to plan probably several months ahead of time on what you're going to want to bring. I suggest you make a packing list for this cruise especially. You're going to want to maybe list everything that you're going to want to bring, and then as you kind of collect them, you can check them off the list. Maybe have a special room or just a location somewhere in your house that you can just kind of stack things as you collect them, and just, as you're checking them off, and just make sure you have everything, because, you don't want to really have anything last minute that you've forgotten and trying to rush out and find, especially, and if you live somewhere where the weather's warm most of the time, you may not be able to go out and just find some of those cold weather type gear things readily. So, just keep that in mind when you're planning. So with that in mind, I would suggest that the best time to, if you're going to have to purchase some items to go to Alaska, as far as some cold weather gear and things like that, if you don't normally live where the weather's cold and you need to actually purchase several things to go to Alaska, I would suggest you look at maybe the end of the winter season, either just in stores or online, and you can find things on clearance, and just try to pick up some of the things that way. If you need an extra jacket or, some hoodies, things like that, it'll just save you a lot of money, especially if you're somewhere like me that lives in a warm weather area like Arizona. I'm probably not going to use those things again, or maybe, unless I go to the snow or go on another cold weather vacation. So I don't want to spend a lot of money purchasing all these things that I'm probably not going to use much again. So look for them at the end of the season on clearance somewhere, on sales, and try to pick some things up that way. So just plan ahead. Let's see, is what you're going to want to be bringing is, just kind of keep in mind layers. That is the key word for Alaska, is layers. So layers and comfort, actually. You're going to probably want to bring a few like kind of thermal undershirts than your regular shirts. You're going to want to bring pants, probably some jeans. Also, you might want to throw in a pair of shorts or two just in case you happen to run across some great weather. It does happen occasionally. Most of the summer months during Alaska, it still stays pretty chilly, but you can get, I guess, once in a while you'll get some warm weather. We actually got very lucky on our cruise last May. It's usually very cold in May. We had nice sunny weather around 70 most every day. We only had a little bit of rain one day, and every other day it was just beautiful and gorgeous. We actually wore shorts, and we were even in tank tops out on our balcony at times. So you really just never know. So you want to come kind of prepared for anything, although bring a few more cold than warm things, because you're probably going to need those. So like I said, maybe throw in a pair of shorts, some short sleeve shirts just in case. And then you're going to want to bring some jackets. You're going to want, depending on what excursions you have booked, you're probably going to want somewhat of a heavier jacket, especially if you're going to be going up to the glaciers, Mendenhall Glacier, doing dog sledding, or any of those type of kind of crazy, fun excursions, you're going to definitely want a heavier jacket. And preferably water resistance, or, you know, waterproof maybe. Another thing is, if you don't have a really big jacket, you know, then you can probably wear like a hoodie and then put like a thinner jacket over it, you know, that's kind of waterproof. And if you don't have a rain jacket or a waterproof jacket, you really don't want to purchase one, and you're probably not planning on doing anything that's going to be, you know, up where you're going to need a heavy jacket. You know, you're just going to maybe be walking around town or doing some kind of less strenuous, I guess, activities there. Then maybe just bring a hoodie, bring some kind of jacket, and then grab a poncho. You know, purchase a poncho for a couple dollars, a rain poncho, and throw it in your bag and just bring it along with you. And then just when you get off on the porch, throw it in your backpack or your carry bag, whatever you're going to be carrying off, and just throw it in there in case you need it, in case, you know, you happen to run into some rain. It's a really cheap way to go. You know, you're only at a couple dollars, and whether you use it or not, you know, where down the line you may use it. So anyways, we actually had jackets, although we also brought some ponchos too and threw them in our bag just in case. So there you go. That's a little tip. Another thing is bring some shoes. Tennis shoes are probably okay. They're fine. Although I would suggest, if you're going to be doing a lot of walking and being out places where you might run into a little rain, or even if you're going to be in the snow, bring something waterproof, because if it does rain there, you know, you may be walking in puddles and things like that. And if you get your tennis shoes wet, it's going to take quite a while for them to dry. Some ships have the little laundry rooms where you can put them, probably throw them in the dryer or something and dry them, but you don't want to have to depend on that. And all the cruise lines don't have those. So just keep that in mind, and maybe bring something a little waterproof to wear for your excursions. And then also, I would suggest you bring extra socks. Bring at least, maybe plan on 2 pair a day. You may not, good chance you might not use them, but it's always good to have extra socks, especially if your shoes end up getting wet. You know, you can always change your socks out and keep your feet somewhat dry a little bit. Anyways, so that's a good tip. Always bring extra socks, especially with kids. Oh my gosh, with kids, definitely bring extra socks. You know, there may be puddles and things around, and you know, kids love puddles. So there you go. What else can we bring as far as clothing? That's about it. Just make sure you bring plenty of clothes, you know, because you're going to be, like I said, you might put all your layers on in the morning, including your jacket. Maybe a few hours later, you may be warm and take all that stuff off, but just your t-shirt. And then as it gets closer to the later afternoon, you're getting cold again, putting it all back on. It's kind of like that with the Alaska weather. And so it changes throughout the day. And like I said, you know, it can be a massive rainstorm one day and be sunny the next. So you just really never know. So just come prepared. And also another thing, you will find that people tend to dress a lot more casual on an Alaska cruise. Not just, you know, in ports on excursions, but when they're on the ship going to dinner as well. You will find people just not dressing up as much. You know, we found people wearing just jeans and like t-shirts and things like that to the dining room at night. It's just a very relaxed type atmosphere, casual type of cruise, which I was kind of surprised. I actually expected it to be a little different, like more dressy before I went, but I found that was not the case. It's very comfortable. So just planned in with layers and to be comfortable. And even, I would say that even people did not even dress up quite as much on a formal night as well. So just keep that in mind. Layers and comfort. All right, let's go on to, let's see, excursions. Okay, if you're going to book excursions, I would suggest you start doing your research several months out. If you've booked your cruise over a year in advance, then start researching then what you want to do. And probably at least 6 months out, you should be booking your excursions, whether it's through the cruise line or outside the cruise line. If you do them outside the cruise line, just do a lot of research with the companies and make sure that they're reputable companies, and you know, get 5-star reviews and some things like that. What else? But whatever the case is, the Alaska cruises are going to be very pricey. They are all very pricey, and there's just no way of getting around that, pretty much. So even the ones not through the cruise lines are still going to be pretty pricey. So it's good to book far ahead because they do book up very quickly. That's another thing. All the good excursions will book up very quickly. So just plan ahead, get your excursions booked early, and do your research, and make sure you take in everything you can, because everything you're able to afford to do that you can do. Just try to make a list of things you want to see, because like I said, it's kind of like a one, for most people that do go to Alaska, it's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing. They don't, it's not some place that people can just go back to all the time, because it is, fairly expensive, whether you go on a land vacation or a cruise. Even the cruises, tend to be more expensive going, and then more so the excursions is what really gets you on the cost when you get there. They're very expensive. So there you go. Just do your research and plan several months in advance on the excursions. All right, now I'm going to talk about a few things that you are going to want to make sure you bring, not to leave behind, to kind of help make your experience just more awesome. Anyways, okay, binoculars. That is a big thing. If you have binoculars, I wouldn't suggest you go out and buy an expensive pair of binoculars for the cruise. But if you have binoculars, or if you don't, if you know someone that has binoculars you can borrow, bring your binoculars. There will be several times when you're on the ship where you are looking off and you will see maybe a whale, or if you see land, you might see some wildlife off there that you're going to want to zoom in and see. So just keep that in mind. Binoculars are great. We brought our binoculars, we had them out on the balcony, I don't know how many times, checking things out and zooming in, and it was awesome. So if you have binoculars, or you can get some, bring binoculars. Another thing is, definitely don't forget, I'm sure you won't, but definitely don't forget your camera. Whether it is a nice expensive camera, or you use your cell phone for pictures, whatever the case is, just make sure you have something to snap those shots, because you are not gonna want to forget. You are gonna make so many memories this cruise. So make sure you have something to take pictures with, even maybe more than one thing, a camera and your cell phone, or a video camera. You're definitely not going to want to forget it. Camera. All right. Next thing, rain jacket, or like a poncho. Like I mentioned before, make sure you have some kind of jacket that is water resistant, waterproof, or if you don't, if your jacket is not and you don't want to buy another one, bring a poncho. They're only a couple dollars at the store. You can pick one up, throw it in your bag. Doesn't take up much room. You're good to go. There you go. Next, like I said, as far as jackets go, you might want to bring a heavier jacket, but also bring something lightweight as well, either a lightweight jacket or just a hoodie, because there will be times where you might be a little chilly, but you don't need a big bulky jacket. So kind of have both. It's good just to kind of have a variety there and have both. Next thing is an umbrella. There's a good possibility that at some point in your week cruise you will experience some rain. So having an umbrella, especially if it's on a port day, is a very good decision. Otherwise you will be drenched. So an umbrella is a great thing to throw in your suitcase. All right, we already touched on closed-toed shoes, but that's very important. That will save you from just walking around with wet feet the whole cruise. So if you have closed-toed shoes, closed-toed shoes and waterproof shoes, I should say, make sure you bring them along. Plenty of socks. I'm gonna elaborate on that, because I feel like that is one of the things that people totally forget to bring, and it can really just make things so much better if you end up, with wet shoes. So bring plenty of socks. Okay, another thing is a small day pack or backpack, something that you're going to use to get off the ship in port. I would suggest something that's a little kind of lightweight one. We use the Orixon kind of little travel backpack you've probably seen in some of our videos before. That is it's an awesome thing to use for Alaska, because you're usually just throwing in maybe a little extra jacket or hoodie, or extra socks, or your wallet, just a few things like that, and nothing really heavy. You're not throwing in beach towels and all that stuff like you do for a Caribbean cruise. So you just need something kind of small and lightweight that you can throw some things in and take with you. Another thing is, if just keep this in mind, if you happen to do one of the helicopter tours that takes you up to the glaciers and you go dog sledding and all that, most of the helicopter companies will not allow you to take any kind of backpack or anything on them with you. So keeping that in mind, if you have something like that planned, do some research and find out about that ahead of time. Because if that's the case, make sure you have some sort of jacket that has several pockets that zip and things where you can fit all of your things in there, like your cell phone, your camera, any of those kind of things that you might want to bring with you, that you can fit on you in those pockets, so that you don't have to leave them behind. One brand that makes something that is awesome for that, I have one myself, it's the Scottevest Jacket. They have several different styles of jackets, and they are known for having just pockets everywhere, just like they are full of pockets. So I think my jacket has it's either 13 or 15 pockets in it if you actually were to use them all. So it's awesome. So check that out. You can actually go on scottevest.com, I believe, and look at purchasing something like that as well. Okay. Let's see what else. And one other thing, seasickness medicine. Alaska cruises are known for being a little rocky, I guess, at times. Usually it's not once you get down to Alaska. It's usually the day after embarkation day, the first day kind of heading off to sea, going down. That is when it tends to be the most rocky, and you will see people getting a little queasy. You'll see in the buffet areas, there's a lot of green apples out there, and you'll see people grabbing those, and you will see a lot of the bowls empty with the green apples where people have taken them back to their cabin. Let's see. And so make sure you have some kind of seasickness medicine just in case. Maybe the wristbands that you can wear, or just something, whatever you would normally use for seasickness. Even if you tend to not get seasick on cruises, there's a good chance you might get a little queasy on that second day going down to Alaska. I know I did, and I don't normally get seasick. A little tip that I bring, I mentioned I have a seasickness video that I've made a while back. I will try to link it to this one here. And one thing that I bring that kind of helps me is I bring a little box of Gingersnap Cookies with me, and they're kind of tasty. You can nibble on them, and also the ginger in them, it actually kind of made me kind of feel a little better. So I never resorted to eating the green apples, but we had some people we were traveling with that did eat the green apples, and they said they worked too. But I had my Gingersnap cookies and my wristbands, and I did fine. We did go down low to the lobby area, kind of midship, and sat down there for a little while, and it seemed to just kind of ease up and get a little better. But that is something that is very common, so just keep that in mind and make sure you come prepared, because when you get on the ship, especially on a cruise like that where it tends to be common, there's a good possibility that they may run out of seasickness medicine in the gift shop, or run out of the wristbands that they sell and things. You just never know. So just keep that in mind. And also, if you don't see anything in the gift shop, go to guest services and ask them. We actually had a friend go to guest services, and that's where they actually gave them some little seasickness pills. I forget what kind they were, but they got them from guest services. They didn't even have to go to the doctor on the ship. So try that too, because it'll save you a few dollars. Okay, so let's see. I think those are all the important things not to forget. And anyone watching this video, if you can think of anything that is really important that you found useful, please put it in the comments below to help all of our Alaska cruisers. All right, next I'm going to talk a little bit about how you organize all your paperwork in your I guess your folder maybe, or however you're going to take all your paperwork. Is what I recommend is you get some sort of folder, preferably like a plastic folder that's maybe waterproof kind of. We always put ours in a plastic folder just in case you set it down somewhere and it happens to get wet. You don't want it to soak through and get all of your documents wet. Also, another good thing is if you can get sometimes like a plastic folder that zips up and stick things into. That is also another great idea. But it's how we normally organize ours is we put all of our things in just kind of an order of how we're going to use them. We'll have our maybe our boarding passes for our flights first, and then our hotel confirmation next, then our cruise boarding passes, and all of our excursions after that, anything we're going to need on the ship. Basically, we just kind of put everything in order, or then our flight home, so that as we take it out and use it, it's on, the next thing's in front. We just try to keep things very organized. Let's see what else. And also your passports. This is another thing, and very important. If you're going to Alaska, you must have a passport, because all Alaska cruises will make a stop in Canada, and you will not be getting back off. You don't get off and back on that ship in Canada without your passport. You definitely need a passport when you go to Canada. So most of the time they will let you know that when you book your cruise, but everyone doesn't. So just make sure you know that is one of those cruises that you definitely do have to have a passport. So make sure you get your passport several months in advance, and you have it, it's accurate, and make sure it's not going to expire either in the next few months. Make sure it's good for at least another 6 months once you are, headed to your cruise. That's another important thing. So there you go. Make sure you have all your documents in place, and you have a passport. All right. Well, hope you have enjoyed our little planning tips Alaska video here. If you ever have a chance to go to Alaska, I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. It is amazing. It truly is amazing. I'm not a cold weather person myself. I tend to like more of the Caribbean cruises and the warm weather, although I would definitely do this one again, hands down. It was just amazing. It was beautiful, totally different than any other cruise I've done. So with that being said, if anyone, like I said, has any comments to add, tips to help our fellow cruisers here, please add them in the comments below. And there you go. Until next time, happy cruising. And don't forget, it's all about layers and comfort.